life's smoke and gun, love's dangerous. That's the way it is, that's the way it was. When you learned to run, it was in the mud, it was in the cold, now it's in your blood. I burn from the hell I've seen, but the devil can't hold me down. I burned all the hell I'll be, standing on holy ground.
We here, man. We here. We got a special guest today. We got my brother from another mother, Mr. Alan Martinez. Man, I appreciate you for being on this episode. You know, it means a lot to me. It definitely means a lot to me. You know, I said we was gonna try to be consistent this time around, and I had a couple names, and my brother right here was definitely one of the ones that I had to reach out to get on here and give some wisdom, shed some light on some things. And because I'm not gonna lie, man, this guy right here, I learned a lot from him. I honestly, I think that's a testament to our friendship, our brotherhood, because I believe we gained from each other, and we saw some things in each other that we took. I was like, man, that's a good guy, that's a good dude, and it ultimately led to being brothers, man, brothers for life. So, you know what I mean? I'm open the floor. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've come like so long and so far from, meeting in the military and stuff like that. But man, it's crazy to think that it's been since like 2017, going to basic together. I mean, we weren't in the same like platoon or anything, but the fact that we were like going through all those, stages in life and then ended up being like really close is it's honestly crazy. And just to see how like God works to bring people together. But, I'm doing good. Been a rough couple of weeks for me in my personal life, but other than that, can't complain, man. God is good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's funny because I was telling somebody, I said, man, I knew that was my brother when I was going through a phase of my life, and we didn't even communicate the way that we used to. And when I say not communicate, like maybe here and there, but it was like years where I was trying to figure life out. And you probably was doing the same as well. And
Yeah.
like just to talk to you or communicate again, and it was no love lost at all. And it's crazy because it feel like, honestly, I feel like, it feel like nothing happened, but it's like no love lost, and we picked up where we left off for real. Like, cause we talk like every day now,
Yeah,
if we
pretty much.
joking or, what's going on. So definitely, man. So we're gonna get into the questions, man. And you know what I mean? You don't have to share. I'm not, trying to prod nothing.
Yeah.
If you want to share a testimonial or an experience or anything, feel free, man. The floor be yours. Even if you want to, you have a situation or a testimonial experience that you may be like, man, I ain't never talked to bro about, and you want to get my, feedback or my advice on it, like, man, this is the place to do it. So the first question is, what was a moment in your life that changed who you are today?
Wow, that's a pretty deep question. So, a moment in my life that changed who I am today. Man, there's been so many moments I think that have changed me as a person. But recently, I would say it's probably, so I've shared this with you and, a few other people in my family, but recently my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, and my fiance, soon to be wife in November, her aunt, and actually two of her aunts got diagnosed with cancer as well. So I think that has completely kind of changed me within like the last, 2 to 3 months. Just as far as like gratitude and, how, life is so fragile. And, we take life for granted. And it's just changed my perspective on life, enjoying the little things. And I feel like I used to do that pretty well, regardless of, the situation coming up recently. But man, you gotta, talk to your friends, talk to your family, like, send them a text, hey, I love you, how are you doing? Check up on them. Because you honestly don't know, if your tomorrow is promised or not, God's going to call you to heaven, call you home whenever he wants to. So, I've kind of reflected on that and kind of changed my perspective on, being grateful for, even the small things like being able to breathe the right way, having food in the morning, having shelter, not trying to complain as much about, small little inconveniences that honestly don't matter in life. So I think that recent situation has really kind of changed my perspective on gratitude.
Yeah, man, that's good because you had said it while you were talking, but like I think often we get wrapped up in this world to where we forget how good God really is. And, like you said, like we take even the little things for granted, but it may seem little to us, but it's not little to him. Like the fact that we can roll out the bed in the morning, that's not little. That's something that we just brush off, but that's not little. So I definitely believe, like, man, we take a lot. That's what I believe. We take a lot for granted, you know. And then it comes with like entitlement in a sense. Like, no, I'm supposed to roll out the bed or be able to provide, or I'm supposed to breathe this air in my lungs. Nah, because like you said, if God called us home today or tomorrow, what I mean? That wasn't your decision, it was his. You know what I mean? So I definitely understand that, man.
Yeah.
And like I told you before, because you share that those situations with me, and man, you already know we still praying and we believe God no matter what. You got the final say so. And if if you need me, I'm here, bro. I've been checking here and there just to make sure you good, because
Yeah.
that's one thing I never said is like throughout, even before now, like when I ask you how you doing, or how ma doing and stuff, like one thing on my mind is your mental. You know what I mean? So I definitely be praying for you, not only ma and everything, but I definitely be praying for your mental during this, because it could be hard. It could be hard, and I've never been in those shoes, so I definitely try to pray for
Yeah.
your mind during this season. Hey man, these questions gonna be a little crazy, man. So you put your seatbelt
It's all good. Yeah.
on. But the next question is, what's the hardest season you had to walk through, and what got you through it?
Honestly, it was probably back in 2019 when I was going through, the separation with the military, having to deal with that whole situation. And, it was involuntary. So that was just, something that was challenging, I'd say probably, every single day up to, getting discharged from the military. Um, but just the fact that, it was something that I didn't necessarily want to do or have planned, was just all a surprise to me. And I tried to, see like, hey, or, say to myself, hey, the grass might be greener on the other side. And, I went to college after the military and all of that. But to me, it kind of felt like I kind of lost my identity after getting out of the military, just because we were so, consistent. We had a schedule. And in the military, it's all about, showing up, doing your job, and, going home, but staying on that routine and being expected to do that, and, holding you to like higher standards, so having to transition from that kind of environment over to like the civilian world, just, it was completely different. And honestly, during that time too, I wasn't as close, I would say, with God, and I didn't have that relationship. Um, and I think at the time we weren't really talking, like we were talking a little bit, but we weren't talking a lot. So honestly, what got me through it was the fact that, I decided to go to GCU, which was a private Christian school. And I kind of, picked up the love of rugby again. But also the reason I specifically picked that school was the fact that it was a Christian school. So that kind of honestly helped me, just, the love for the game of rugby, but also the fact that I was going to a school when I could go to a place where I could, conversate with people that are like-minded, like you and me, and, talk about our relationship, with the Lord, and just talk about, stuff in the Bible and, you know, how we can grow as Christians. So I think that was honestly what probably got me through that season. And, you know, eventually it worked out. But, you know, there, when I was initially separated, I was like, man, what am I going to do?
Yeah, man. And I feel you on both of those, like on both of those instances, because like you know, when I got out this past November, like it's kind of like a culture shock when we got out,
Yeah.
you know, because you were doing it for so, it's just something that you've been doing for so long. It's like it's kind of like leaving the house for the first time, like, you know, becoming an adult. It's a culture shock because, like you said, like they did everything for us, you know, but it wasn't like they was babying us, but it was the routine because, you know, they whatever that the army does, they do. But we just came so accustomed to that routine, and now you want me to like do something totally different, or it's all back,
Yeah.
all the responsibility is on my plate per se, you know. But definitely that, and then to the school situation is like I think that's something that we should be taught early on, which our parents try to teach us that, but I think it's something that should be talked about more. Is like your atmosphere that you're in,
Yeah.
because think about it, all the bad decisions, and I'm not saying somebody's going to be perfect, but all the bad decisions that we make, that we made, honestly, growing up, you know, being young and thinking we know everything, the atmosphere was negative. You know what I mean? No matter what, you might have tried to be a positive person, but in those situations, the atmosphere was negative. And then like now, as an adult, you know, you try to stay away from, you know, negative atmospheres or something like that. But even now, like if you go somewhere, what was wrong? That atmosphere was negative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody there was like-minded. I didn't want to be there. That's why something crazy happened. You know, I'm not saying that's always the case, but you know, you try to as we get older, we try to alleviate ourselves from being in any of the situations that we were before. And you know, the atmosphere of being at that school, I'm pretty sure it was a blessing. And honestly, it was part of God's plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
because
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't know. Back then, around that time, if you would have told me I was gonna go to a Christian school and play some rugby, I would have. Are you tripping?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
now, like back then, if back then you would have told me, I would have had the mindset. I don't want to say like where I am in life because I ain't the best off. I ain't the well off. You know, I ain't nobody special and trying to, you know, compare lives or with anyone. But if you would have told me I would be where I am today, then I would say, man, you tripping. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because Jack Daniels honey and Jack Daniels
It's
is
crazy.
the best.
Yeah.
It's the best thing since sliced bread. But
Yeah.
that was my mindset at the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So nah, man, that's all right. That's all right. And I thank God for the school, man, because I always knew you loved rugby, but I didn't know you loved it till I saw you play.
Yeah. Man. Yeah.
So,
It's crazy. I mean, I like started playing in high school, but I really got into it because, you know, one of my friends on the football team. But the fact that I played it for so long was just, it's such like a unique sport. But man, that game is, you know, definitely will hold a special place in my heart. But yeah, that was for sure a journey.
no, that's all right, man. Hey, man, listen, don't try to hold that information from your kids when you have them. But if you
Yeah.
do, just know Unc gonna snitch. Hey, man, don't try to go play basketball, soccer, or football.
Yeah.
No, your daddy played rugby, so that means you gotta play rugby.
Pick that ball up. Yeah.
I don't know though. They might, you know, as soon as they pop out, you might throw a rugby ball in their hand. Now that's cool, man. Hey, listen. It's. I think the last question is probably the easiest question. Most is simple,
Yeah.
but the next one is what's one belief or mindset you had to let go of to become a better man or the man you are today?
Yeah. That's a good question. I would say, not thinking myself as the person that has all the answers. That's definitely something that I've kind of had trouble with, growing up, and in general, like my journey in life. It was always, my way or the highway, and that kind of, growing up, that kind of, bit me in the behind, I would say, because, my parents were very strict, and I always had, conflict with them growing up, high school, middle school, had problems at school because of it. I think that's something that I've kind of learned to, you know, resolve kind of, through my journey in the military as well, because that kind of helped me, gain some discipline, but also, always kind of think in different perspectives. But, it's okay to not always have answers, and there's certain things that, God has planned for us that we just don't understand. And it might be frustrating, but, I think relying and praying and, asking God to give us, some clarity on why certain things happen, or why, we can't go about a situation a certain way, will give us, that clarity. But that's definitely something that I feel like I had to let go, just because, it was honestly pride. I just had too much pride to be wrong. And, I made some decisions, in life that I thought it would be smart decisions, but, God, humbled me very quickly. So I think that's definitely something that I've kind of learned. And, always pray about something before you make a, major life decision, or, anything that, you might have question, or your parents are, asking you, hey, are you sure about this? Before you, go ahead and move forward with that decision. I think, would be a good way to, talk to God first, see what, pray about the situation before actually following through with that decision.
Yeah, man, that's good because excuse me. I think I had like a question like that the last episode in a sense. And I think my answer was kind of like the same as yours, bro. Cause I don't, and it's crazy because I don't know why I even had that mindset of I know everything and prideful. But once we get older, we realize the root to certain situations and why
Yeah.
we act the way we act, the certain things we've been through, or the certain things we've seen, or however you want to look at it. But I definitely had the same like experience growing up. Like, man, I thought I knew everything, and even now, I wouldn't say that I think I know everything, but I do know. If I could be honest, like I do know I struggle with pride at times now, but you know, I, I'm not afraid to be like, man, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. And what I had taught myself, or what I had learned in the military too, is like I don't know, but I promise you, I know somebody that does know. You know what I mean? And that's not just like here on earth. Like if I don't know, I'm pretty sure God got the answer if I pray and ask. So
Yeah.
and even here on earth, if I don't know the answer, I know enough people, I believe, that I could call somebody in. Not to the ten, it's not like a decision or whatever. It's just like some advice, and I'm real particular on whoever I'm gonna call for like some advice, because I don't want anyone to be biased, or I don't even want to like give me some advice out of emotions or. Nothing like that. So yeah, but I definitely remember the days where I thought I had all the answers and I
Yeah.
got humbled quick.
And yeah, it's funny because I don't know why I was the same way, but yeah, definitely just, man, God will let you know. It's like you do not know all the answers.
Yeah. And it's funny because we like, oh, life will humble you. That's what I thought when I got humbled, but no, it
Yeah.
was God humbled me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You thought you was a big
100%.
bad wolf. You thought you knew it all until he came and took it all away.
Yep. Just like that. Crazy.
Just like that. And I'm telling you, just sitting in that, knowing that's what it was, instead of trying to like point the finger at what or who did it, knowing like, you know, this had to be nobody but God. This why this is going on, trying to get me to see something, trying to open my eyes, or trying to get me to, you know, level up or go to the next, you know. But it's like you said, it's humbling. If it's in the moment, it's a sickening feeling, but it's
Yeah.
humbling. But it's all for his good, man. It's all for his good, because you know, if we stayed those individuals, I wouldn't want to see who we would be today, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's it. I like that answer, because that's how y'all. Hey, man, that's how y'all know we brothers. We had the same answer.
Same life lessons.
Hey, man, on a good day, we twin brothers. You know what I mean? For those of y'all who don't know, I had to teach him Spanish, but that's neither here nor there.
You didn't tell them my mom was Mexican? The one that lives in Virginia?
What happened was, guys, this is exclusive. What happened was we were switched at birth. I mean, his mama is in Virginia and my mom is on the West Coast. I ain't gonna tell y'all where she at, because y'all gonna try to bother my mama. And I would hate to have to pray for y'all and lay hands on y'all. There's some intense fellowship. That's what they call it. But yeah, man. The next one is, and it's general too. What do you think is the biggest challenges men face today? And if you have an answer for that, how can they overcome it?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I would say mental health is probably the one thing I think that we as men struggle. And I think it's just been like a something that has gone on for an extended period of time just because of like social norms, like, you're a man, we're supposed to be tough. We're looked at to have, a lot of the answers, like, kind of like that previous question. And, people think we have all the answers, for everything, like every situation. We're kind of looked at as leaders. So, it's kind of, we're bottled up with all these emotions. And I think mental health comes in and, it tells us, hey, you can't speak to your brothers, you can't speak to your father, you can't, show your emotions to your family because you're the leader of the house. You're supposed to be the strongest in that household. Um, and I don't have a family yet. And, hopefully I have kids here soon in the future once I get married. But, you know, that's something that I think we need to open up to, a lot um, in today, today's society, and just being able to, talk to our brothers, or, anyone that you can trust about our mental health is definitely huge. I've struggled and I know a lot of people that struggled. And, I know sometimes it's hard to kind of like speak up, and specifically in my culture too. I would say that, in the Mexican culture, we're kind of taught, to just toughen up, and, we don't really show too much emotion. We kind of just bottle it all up. But I think that's probably the biggest thing I think is a struggle for men today. And I think we need to move away from that. We can have like certain men's groups, to seek advice, seek help. There's definitely a lot of prayer. I think prayer is very powerful. And I think that's something that has honestly helped me a lot recently. And, throughout the years that I've been struggling with mental health, is just the fact that you can, open that Bible up, pull up a verse, let the Bible speak to you, and pray to God, and, claim that mental health to be gone, and actually believe it. So I think that's something that we definitely, as men, should be addressing a lot more, I think, in today.
Yeah, man. I think I would just say early on I was ignorant to the fact of mental health, just because I'm never the type of person that want to ride the wave. Like
Yeah.
I would have to say, like, man, after COVID is where we've seen it like an incline of people saying, "Oh, I struggle with mental health or mental health awareness and all of that." You know, it's a lot of things that happened after COVID that just took off and it's got some awareness. I won't say take off like it's a
Yeah.
popularity contest, but got awareness. And I never wanted to be the one to, you know, I ain't trying to be the coolest person in the world or in the group or nothing like that. So I don't like follow the waves or the trends, but I saw in myself where, all right, you you're a little off. And like you said, man, we bottle it up. And I thought I was dealing with it just fine until life God shows you that's not what's going on when your cup start running over. You
Yeah.
start doing things out of whack. So I would definitely say like, man, I understand mental health more now. The more I've educated myself on it and seen family members that experience it and friends that experience it, you know, and it doesn't all because this is what people think is, or I would say this is us as men. When we think about mental health, we think, oh, that person's crazy. Nah, that's not just like what mental health is. Like mental health is, I struggle with like something within myself that I don't think is okay, or my emotions unbalanced, depression, anxiety, anger, all of that is get
Yeah.
yourself checked, man. And honestly, to be 100% transparent, like man, I started like 2020 after COVID, I started going to like anger management. It was cool, it worked, or I would say I benefited from it. Let some years go by, and then I started going to behavior health, and I just couldn't get. I was going because I felt like I needed to, but the military behavior health at times ain't worth a dime.
Yeah.
So you know, I I did that, but also I would say, like you said, praying, man. Your faith is what's gonna get you through it for real.
Yeah.
You can go to a million doctors or whoever, but your faith is what's gonna get you through it. You know what I mean? So I definitely understand how you answer that, man, because mental health is serious. My brother was just telling me a story of one of his friends was going through a situation some similar to his battle that he had. He was like, man, the police killed this guy. And I was like, dang, man. But what he was saying was like, man, that could have been me. But God's grace and mercy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
prayer definitely changes things. And it
No, it
covers
does.
you.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because especially with anger, I know I've dealt with anger a lot, but man, it'll build up so much. You start reacting a certain way. You start making irrational decisions. You throw prayer out of your life, and it's just, man, it's just like, you know, it all comes down, and you're like at the end, at the deep end of a pit. So, and then you got to make yourself way up, like get yourself back up to the top. So it's definitely something that you definitely need to pray about.
But yeah, so if you could leave every brother listening with one piece of advice to help lift them up, what would it be?
Man, I would say don't lean on your own understanding, like the Bible says, but lean on God. And I would say, pray about everything. That's something that I would say has helped me recently. And I feel like it's, helped me a lot through all the stages of life I've gone through, but also, the situations that I'm going through right now. It's definitely helped a lot. And just, keep that faith, man, because I know life is tough, and things pop up for some reason, and spiritual warfare is definitely real. And right now, for me in this season, it feels like it's all coming at once. And I have an idea as to why it's happening, and I think we've spoke about it before, and I think it's the fact that Katie and I are about to get married in November. But man, it's the devil's at work, but God's already won, so I already know that through prayer and everything's going to be all right. So just keep that faith, and just try to take it day by day, and, you know, reach out to your friends and your brothers for, you know, guidance, or if you need to talk. I think that's, you know, the best way to maneuver that situation.
Yeah, man, definitely. Spiritual warfare is real.
Yeah.
But once you do know, because it's something that we were learned too, and once you know that like God already has the victory, you know, it takes the sweat off your head. You know what I mean? And it's a saying that we learned is like we got to remember that we're fighting from victory and not for victory. You know,
Yeah.
because He already paid the price. There's no need to pull out a wallet if somebody already paid for you. You know what I mean? So definitely, man. Well, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. That was the last question. Um, you know, it means a lot to me to see where we came from to where we at today. And even the fact that you even was like, man, yeah, I'll get on there and say some words because, you know, it takes,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's hard, but it takes a lot to get on here and, you know, speak and say some things that, you know, you might be thinking about when you're by yourself that's giving you some issues. But I appreciate you, man, because I do believe I'm surrounded by like-minded people. And, you know, at the end of the day, what I always say is like, man, some of this stuff is bigger than what we've been through and it's bigger than ourselves. So the
Yeah.
fact that you accepted the invitation to come on here and speak, man, I appreciate you. And, you know, I got much love for you, my brother.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's definitely a blessing, and you know, it's a great opportunity to, you know, kind of reflect on things that I'm going through, and you know, hopefully impact others that'll, you know, watch the podcast and, you know, kind of, you know, spread some light on stuff that, you know, not everyone or everyone is and could possibly be going through in life. So I definitely appreciate that for sure.
Yes, sir, man. Well, man, that's the end of the episode. Until the next episode, be blessed and continue to lift your brothers up.
The water didn't wake you, and that cross couldn't break you. Yeah, the darkness couldn't take you.